Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome back to Adventure Capital, where we not only discuss the entrepreneurial journeys and adventures with founders who have raised capital on WeFunder, but also the different resource providers and mentors helping founders along the way. Huzzah! Today we have Charlie Davis, president of Moxey, a fast-growing proprietary platform that gives small business owners access to an interest-free line of credit while driving new customer acquisition. WeFunder gang, take it away.
So today on the podcast, we're speaking with Charlie Davis, president of Moxey. Charlie, welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Looking at your profile here, as of the day that we're recording, you guys have raised $602,000, just under $603,000 from around 373 investors. I remember your campaign, super exciting. You guys have an awesome network. So what is Moxey? Can you give us the brief overview?
You got it. So Moxey is an incredible business network that helps small businesses thrive. And so our core purpose in life is to help small businesses grow, help them do better. And we do that by bringing them new customers and better access to capital. How we do it is super unique. We like to say that Moxey is money with an X factor. And so we spell it MOXEY, money with an X factor. And so thousands of small business owners are buying and selling from each other inside of our network. It's like a hybrid between a barter network and a buying club. But what's happening is we help these businesses sell their excess capacity. And so whether you're a painter or a plumber or a plastic surgeon or CPA, most businesses have excess capacity, meaning they need new customers. And so that's what Moxey helps them do. We help them fill their extra time to earn new business. And we do it focused around local small business owners. And so when you join Moxey, what you're really joining is an entire community of other small business owners, all incentivized and motivated to help you succeed. And so, being part of Moxey this is a win-win scenario that helps everybody who participates.
That's awesome. So can you give us a tangible example? Let's say I'm a, kind of restaurant owner here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
How do I sign up? What kind of process do I go through? And then what are the benefits that I get?
Great question. Restaurants is actually one of our largest sectors. And so most restaurants sometimes have empty tables, right? You've all seen those signs that say, hey, kids eat free here on Tuesday nights, or, come at 1:30 in the afternoon for a free beer, right? Restaurants are constantly trying to market and advertise to get new customers, especially during the downturn, right? So when a restaurant joins Moxey and we alert all of our members, hey, this new amazing steak restaurant now accepts Moxey dollars. What happens is that restaurant gets a competitive advantage. So all the other members in the Moxey network in that area are incentivized to go to that restaurant as opposed to somebody else. Now, Moxey doesn't move somebody from McDonald's to Ruth's Chris, right? That's a completely different buying decision for different things. But it would move you from local restaurant A to local restaurant B, or move you from McDonald's to Burger King, or from Ruth's Chris to a local steak shop. And so Moxey helps those small business owners who are trying to compete with the big guys.
How did you guys come up with this idea? Was it modeled after anything in particular or your own brainchild?
I wish it was my own brainchild. So it turns out that barter is one of the oldest, largest, and fragmented industries in the world. So there's not a city on the planet that you could think of that doesn't have some sort of barter organization happening. Fortune 500 companies, Toyota does it, iHeartRadio does it, the Saints do it, every media company in the world. Small businesses do it. They directly trade with each other. And so businesses have this constant need to barter with each other, to do different deals. And so what Moxey did is we took this incredible idea and motivating thing for businesses that they're already doing, and we started linking them together. And so instead of trading directly with one another, or instead of trading in smaller organizations, we started linking these communities together. And so Moxey is now in 16 cities and helps more than 4,000 businesses buy and sell from each other. And so our initial mission is to help 100,000 businesses grow, to help 100,000 companies do better. But from there, we want to keep growing until Moxey becomes a worldwide currency, a credit network that can be used by small businesses all around the country, all around the world.
Is there a tension where, like, the more you scale the more, because I imagine like there's something around kind of local, right? And kind of like a community like that, kind of has affinity like within itself. Is there a tension there as you scale that kind of close community starts to break down? I feel like we kind of, we kind of, I've seen this with WeFunder founders and investors, is like when you have 15 people like over for dinner, the connection is very authentic. But if you try to multiply that by 100, then it starts to break down. But maybe that doesn't apply to you. Maybe the more small businesses you can get a discount out, the better.
No, I think that sort of concept, the Dunbar number, however you want to look at it, always applies to managing communities. And so just to give you a real world example, in Baton Rouge, which is a small market, it's just barely one of the top 100 markets in the country. There in the greater Baton Rouge area, more than 1,000 business owners accept Moxey dollars. That's a lot, 1,000 businesses in a market the size of Baton
network
Rouge.
densification.
Yeah. And so, for example, here it's super, super simple. My regular doctor takes Moxey. Every restaurant I go to accepts Moxey. This week,
that's
actually,
probably because you're just pitching everyone you talk to, Charlie. You're like going into the doctor. Oh, by the way, have you signed up for Moxey dollars yet, Doc?
Guilty as charged. My son, unfortunately, is getting braces on Wednesday. And so there's even a waiting list in Baton Rouge of dentists to join the Moxey network.
So when you talk to a doctor normally, it's like, oh, do they take my insurance? Do you have everyone going around Baton Rouge like, oh, do you take Moxey dollars? If not, like,
absolutely.
I'm sorry, I really can't go out of network on this one.
Yeah, you never want to go out of network. It's more painful to switch from Moxey to cash than it is to go from one insurance company to the next. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So the network externalities work both ways, right? Every time a node joins, it becomes more valuable. And so it becomes easier and easier to spend your dollars. But we have noticed one of our challenges is now there's so many businesses. How do you discover them? It's super challenging. I had a party for my wife a few nights ago, and we had some incredible, an incredible chef catered the meal as part of the Moxey network. But I also found this amazing company called Balloon Mania that made beautiful decorations out of balloons, and I had no idea they were there. And so with 1,000 businesses, even myself, the president of Moxey, I'm constantly discovering new companies that I had no idea in my backyard were on the platform. So it's a real challenge to figure out how can we make it as easy as possible. In fact, that's one of the first things we did with the money we raised on WeFunder was to hire an incredible CTO, a guy named Jack Heaton out of South Carolina. And he, we finished our campaign just over 150 days ago, and we were launching new apps, new technology probably 60 days after the campaign closed. And so it has been a game changer to make it easier for our businesses to find each other.
What's the experience like from a business's perspective? Like, do you have any numbers you can share around, before joining Moxey versus after joining Moxey, how many customers they've found or things like that?
Yeah, we have incredible testimonials. I think my favorite is a restaurant, to go back to Jonny's example, because you can see it. You can just see it, right? So one of our business owners is an awesome coffee shop, Italian restaurant, great gelato. To the minute he joined Moxey, new people just showed up the very same day, right? And so he can physically see new people walking into a store that have never been there before. And what's really powerful is, when you try a new restaurant that you've never been to, you also tell your friends who are cash paying customers. Even though 1,000 businesses is a lot, in a small market, but that's nothing compared to the entire population, right? So you're not even scratching the surface. So for a company, when they join Moxey, it becomes a huge competitive advantage. It works better than most people think. That the biggest hurdle is people are nervous. They're like, well, this is so great. How come I've never heard of it before? Then they start digging into it and they find out, oh, their next door neighbor is a part of Moxey or their cousin's a part of Moxey. Just unfortunately, we're one of the best kept secrets in the country. And so hopefully that's going to start to change here pretty soon.
And so maybe this is a nice segue because as Katie was mentioning earlier, you ran a great WeFunder campaign, raised 600 grand or so. Why did you decide to raise money in this way from the crowd on WeFunder versus more conventional like angels or VCs?
Oh man, great question. Tons of reasons. I have always thought that the idea of an accredited investor is just ridiculous. We could debate whether it's well-intentioned or not, but the idea that a wealthy person can invest in cool startups and a poor person cannot, they can go buy lottery tickets, just keeps me up at night. It's so ridiculous. And so that's one reason. It's really well aligned with our mission, which is to help local companies,
Yeah,
but also our
probably most
customers.
of those
Yeah.
small business owners, like the 1,000 small business owners in Baton Rouge, probably most of them, sadly, are not accredited.
Well, the funny thing is, I think the accreditor definition hasn't changed much since the early 80s, and so back then, because of inflation, that was a lot of money, but before you know it, I think at the rate inflation's going, give it 6 more months, the whole country will be an accredited investor, because the bar doesn't keep raising up. But it's hard, there's thousands of businesses on the Moxey network, and there's no easy way to let them buy shares in a company that they already participate in, right? It's just ridiculous that it took so long for the Jobs Act to pass in 12, and it took so long for it really to gain steam. So, I was telling John the other day, being in the WeFunder platform has been a game changer for our business. The momentum we have picked up, the cash in the bank, the new customers, the excitement. I cannot go to an event now where someone doesn't come up to me and say, "Hey, can I still invest? I think I missed the opportunity. When can I invest again in Moxey?" It really has motivated our customers. They love being investors. Our new investors love helping us to find customers. I mean, I know that, crowdfunding is still sort of the stepchild of the VC, PE world. But I think over time that's going to flip. Today you might do crowdfunding because you couldn't pick up a top tier VC. One day in the near future, I think you'll only go the VC route if you can't make crowdfunding work for you. It's just a lot easier, and it better aligns the incentives for everybody. And who knows our business, better than our customers.
Yeah, you guys had a huge outpouring of support from the Moxey network. I'm curious though, because I mean, you mentioned this before, but it is sometimes hard to explain to people that don't know how Moxey works. People are hesitant. How was that for you guys communicating Moxey and the business model to the WeFunder community through the campaign page and through your outreach? Was that difficult, or was it well received?
We spent a lot of time trying to do a great video, to do good graphics, to do good marketing. And it's hard to know what worked and what didn't work. The sweet spot for us seems to be investors who knew us personally, meaning they had interacted with somebody, our staff or a customer, right? Those are the go-to people for us. Mm-hmm. And on the platform, other investors who had seen or heard or sometime been part of a barter network somewhere in the country was also a big help for us, right? Mm-hmm. And even if people don't understand Moxey, right? You don't have to understand how money works in order to earn it, right? You don't have to understand the Visa rail system and what the different credit card numbers work. I mean, the payment network technology in this country, why it may be 60 years old, is still incredibly complicated, right? But you don't have to understand that to see that Visa and MasterCard. So I think when people look at technology like Moxey and they see the momentum and they see the thousands of businesses participating, the hundreds of millions of dollars that we've done in volume, they think, "Hey, there must be something here. Let me keep looking into it." But it can be complicated to understand. I tried for a while to explain to people the economic model behind Moxey. I mean, I have this entire white paper that will bore you to death about dynamic reserve banking. And you know what? No one cares. They don't care at all about the fancy stuff behind the scenes. They just want to know that if they join Moxey, will new customers come into their restaurant, right? Will 5 more kids come buy braces from the dentist, right? Is the plumber going to have 2 customers tomorrow instead of 1? And so in the real world, Moxey's amazing. It might be hard to explain how it works behind the scenes, but when you can feel it and touch it and see it, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I feel like, as you were saying earlier, when you have people that know you and trust you and understand your passion and your vision, mm-hmm. and when you have customers that use the product and love the product and are getting more customers into their restaurant because of Moxey, that beats any white paper that explains it in complicated language, or that beats any amazing video, right? I feel like this is kind of part of the vision we have for WeFunder, right? Which is on the spectrum between product and distribution, right? On where product is if you build it, they will come, and then distribution is we're just kind of spam marketing the whole world aggressively. We kind of would position ourselves as a company, more on the if you build it, they will come side, where we want to be, listing companies on WeFunder, founders that are just they've got such a cool product, they've got this passion, And even if they don't yet have the distribution, it's like that can shine through, and that's what we're kind of anchoring towards. But I mean, you obviously did a great job on marketing the campaign as well. So are there kind of one or two, amazingly successful tactics that you would recommend, anyone running a WeFunder campaign? Oh, you definitely got to do this thing.
Yeah, great question. It's a great debate. Is product more important or distribution more important? And I think
What's your take on that?
both are important, right? I think they're both important. You have to have a great product, but if you can't distribute it, no one's ever going to find out. So I think probably if you focus too much on one or the other will drag you down. So in Moxey, we probably overdid the product at first, and now we're getting much better at the distribution model. For sure. But from our side, from WeFunder, this was our first time ever to do a Reg CF campaign, obviously. So we got tons of great advice. I'm sure we bugged Katie to death with 1,001 questions. And your staff was awesome to work with because you must get the same questions over and over and over again, right? And we're trying to do a really good job to communicate our message. And to this day, we do really regular updates with our investors. And they're constantly emailing me back or comment, oh, thank you for all this update. This is amazing. And they're just shocked that we would take the time. I'm like, shocked. This is we take the responsibility to be good stewards of our investors' money really, really seriously, right? I mean, I've got, some of the investors in Moxey are my closest friends in the world. I would sooner lose my mom's money than lose money for an investor in the Moxey network. So we take our responsibility really, really seriously. And the more we can educate them, the better we can do. So I've been doing updates, at 90 days, 150 days, 33 days, trying to do it as often as we can to really keep people up to date on what's going on with WeFunder. So I will say that of all the tactics, if you can call it a tactic, the thing that surprised me the most, that seems to work the best, was actually social media on my personal pages. Just where I'd share photographs of my kids, people I went to high school with, business associates of mine. That really moved the needle. People I went to church with, people that haven't seen me in 20 years from high school. You lose track of the people that, my wife and I, we send out probably 100 something Christmas cards every year. Congratulations, I'll add you guys to the list this year. Y'all will make the cut. So I've got 4 gorgeous kids, and we try to stay in touch with people we've met, over the years. And it's hard, and Facebook, makes it easier. And so I think that was the biggest surprise for me. That people that never in years even know they could have invested in Moxey really stepped up. So it was that group of people, plus our customers, I think, that really kicked off, this successful campaign for us.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought up the updates because you guys did a phenomenal job at that during the campaign. And it looks like now after, and you really invested in your community. You had a really strong community coming in, but it's really welcoming for other people who are just learning of Moxey to see the robust community through like the reactions to the updates and you guys highlighting little businesses and letting them share their testimonials on the page. Like these are all awesome tactics that I think you guys just really, you hit the nail on the head with that. So can you tell us what is next for Moxey?
Yeah, great question. So we have been hoping to wrap up our audit here in the next week or two, and then we want to come back and do our next Reg CF campaign. The first one was cut off pretty quickly. It only lasted about 60 days. We still raised $600,000, which is great. It was a game changer for us. We're not complaining at all. But since then, we've hired new people. We have rolled out awesome new technology, and we've grown our revenue by 500%. In August, our monthly revenue grew by over 500%, primarily because we were able to tightly integrate with some existing trade exchanges out there, which is all part of our plan. So we're really excited to come back on the platform and raise more money. Hopefully this time, letting our members invest not just with traditional U.S. dollars, but also with their Moxey dollars as well. It's a great way for us to show confidence, in the Moxey network, and when people can use their actual Moxey dollars to buy stock in the Moxey company. Our vision is one day to be a publicly traded company, but on the way there, we want the majority of our stock to be owned by small business owners. We'd love nothing more than the vast majority actually be owned by the customers to be fully invested in our success.
That's awesome. Super excited for you to open round 2 and you have a huge base of people that'll be waiting in the wings.
I hope so.
To come on board.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
I don't know if we just lost Jonny on Wi-Fi. We can cut this out. Jonny, are you still there?
I am. Can you hear me? Hello?
We can't hear you if you are.
Oh, shoot. Yes, I will chat. Hey, sorry about that. Can you hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think the recording's still going. So I guess we would probably just have one more question, Charlie, on advice.
Sure.
So maybe we could jump to that. So I guess, Charlie, last question for us. We ask this of everyone who comes on the podcast. But if there's one piece of advice that you could give to a founder that's, kind of just starting out or at the stage you're at, what would that be?
For me, that would be focus. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. Started my first business in college. It was a newspaper. I've had clothing businesses. I've had event companies, technologies, all sorts of things. And the best thing I learned over time was to focus. It's just so important to do fewer number of things and do them well. I used to have the problem. I was sort of addicted to starting companies. Like if you had a problem, I had a company we should start. I just love capitalism. I just think that having more businesses is better. But I had too many businesses that were average and none that were just crushing it. And so many years ago, I finally learned. It took me longer than it probably should have. I just started shutting businesses down and focusing on one thing at a time. And my last ed tech company just exploded, and Moxey's in the process of exploding as well. So I would tell entrepreneurs, focus on one thing, the hedgehog principle. What can you be the best in the world at? What do you love? What will people pay you to do? Once you find that one thing, just amazing. I mean, I am, easily one of, if not the most qualified person in the world to build Moxey because of just sort of the quirkiness of my personality and things I'm interested in. It's not that, I would probably be miserable at other things, but I'm really well qualified to do the exact thing that I'm doing. So having that focus and focusing on something that they're uniquely qualified at, I think is critically important. I think too many people try to do too many things or stray far and wide from their area of expertise. So I think finding that one thing that you're amazing at and focusing on it pays massive dividends.
For sure. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for your time and for being on the podcast. We're stoked to see Moxey come back for round 2, and wish you the best of luck in general with building this. So thanks again, Carla.
You got it, Katie. Thanks, John. Appreciate all you guys' help.
Thanks so much, Charlie. See you soon.
You got it. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of Adventure Capital. I hope you laughed, took notes, shed a tear, and most importantly, feel ready to go off on your own adventure. And remember, whenever you are ready, WeFunder is here to help.